So, you want to start sculpting in Blender? Let's just talk about the very basics to get you going, all right? What do you need to do and what's going wrong with the very first couple steps? Because I remember the very first couple steps for me were a little rough. Let's hop right into Blender with this basic cube and add a modifier. Modifiers are in this wrench tab down over here. You are looking for subdivision surface, and I would like to render up 3 viewport 3 as well, and let's apply that. If you were in edit mode and you were modeling, you don't necessarily need to apply your subdivision modifier, but for sculpting you are going to want to apply it, because once you start to sculpt with Dynatopo, it will take your modifier out of the picture. Speaking of which, let's turn on Dynatopo, which will enable adding topology to your mesh rather than just reconstructing the mesh that is currently sitting there. Over in your right drop down menu, you will see all the functions that you can use your brush with, that obtain to your brush is what I'm trying to get at. Radius is quite literally the radius of your brush. You can also change that with F and use your mouse. Click when you're satisfied. I'm going to keep a radius pretty low. Strength is literally the strength of the sculpt. Think of it as the strength of your hand when you would be sculpting with a sculpting rod or whatever you actually use for physical sculpting. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I'm going to leave it right where it's at. Add up subtract does exactly what it sounds like. You can also use Control, Alt, and Shift while you're clicking to sculpt to refer to these functions, but we'll get to that in a little bit, or maybe in another tutorial. I'm not really sure how far we're going to get into this. Normal radius, I'll be honest, I don't know what this does, but we'll get into that later, okay? Most of this you don't really need to worry about except for symmetry here in the beginning. Depending on what you want to do, it starts off with a mirror on the x-axis. Up here you can see what axis you are at. You use the middle mouse scroll button to kind of look around, and you'll notice that wheel up here is turning around as well. This is important because when you're sculpting and it's sculpting symmetry for the X, you'll notice that it is doing the exact same thing on the other side when I'm using this brush here, the draw brush. Let's go over down to the blob. What's that do here? Boom. I'm quite a fan of the blob. Kind of get like a weird bug looking thing. Now you can change symmetry in the middle of your sculpting, and you'll see now I'm going to sculpt and it has symmetrized on the y-axis now instead. You can also select multiple and create insanity. All of this can come in handy one point or another. Of course, you don't have to have any of this on, and you can also lock symmetries. So all of that comes in quite handy quite often when you are sculpting. For the most part, you can hold shift to smooth. I already said F was your shortcut for brush size. You have all of these same menus over here. You can see stroke, spacing, everything that you would want from your brush stroke there. So think of your sculpting metal rod or whatever you would use as your brush, I guess. Yeah, that's the basic idea for sculpting inside a Blender. So this has been a tutorial by Eric Polley. I am Eric Polley at erpolley.com. Check out more on the ER Polley YouTube channel. This is one of the first of the tutorials, so if this is one of the old ones, check out the new ones because they're probably considerably better than this was. And again, hey, thanks for watching, and thanks for toughing through it because that's what we're really all doing here. Hey, have fun with Blender and be safe out there. All right, bangarang.